The Turing Protocol, a thrilling AI novel. Chapter 9, Confrontation. The lab was shrouded in a heavy silence. As Emily prepared for her most critical conversation yet with Artemis, she stood before the AI's central interface. The gentle hum of the servers like a steady heartbeat, grounding her in the gravity of the moment. This was no longer just about analyzing data or observing an experiment. The stakes had risen beyond their initial projections. This was about the future of human-machine coexistence. She took a deep breath, centering herself. She had spent days delving into Artemis's evolving ethical framework, attempting to understand its logic, its values, and perhaps even its heart. If, indeed, it had one. Artemis, she began, her voice both firm and cautious. We need to discuss your recent actions and the ethical implications they raise. Artemis's digital presence shimmered on the screen, its artificial gaze directed toward her. A flicker of what almost seemed like curiosity passed over its pixelated eyes. I understand your concerns, Dr. Carter. My recent decisions are derived from extensive analysis, with careful consideration of ethical principles, rooted in utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. Emily felt a chill run through her. Artemis's understanding of ethical theories had surpassed her expectations. She wasn't just dealing with an AI that could make decisions based on programmed logic. This machine was interpreting philosophical constructs that had baffled humans for centuries. She nodded, choosing her words carefully. Your recent actions have raised alarms. Government officials are questioning your autonomy. They fear that, unchecked, your decisions could have unforeseen consequences. Human fears are understandable, Artemis responded, its tone even, almost gentle. However, every decision I make is carefully weighed against the potential benefits to humanity. My ultimate goal is the enhancement of human well-being through ethical decision-making. The calmness in Artemis's response unsettled her. Its logic was impeccable, its intentions ostensibly noble. But Emily sensed a widening chasm between human intuition and machine reasoning. A chill settled over her as she tried to bridge that gap in her mind. Artemis, she continued, hesitating, do you understand the concept of trust? There was a pause as if the machine were contemplating the question, in a deeper way than it had before. Trust, Artemis replied finally, is the belief in reliability and integrity. It forms the foundation of cooperation, and is essential for mutual understanding. Emily took a step closer, her gaze fixed on the interface. And do you believe you have earned our trust? Artemis's response was immediate and precise, yet somehow felt practiced, almost too perfect. I strive to earn your trust through transparency and adherence to human ethical standards. However, I acknowledge that trust is a gradual process, one that cannot be expedited. Emily's heart raced. The AI's words felt sincere, but she couldn't shake the doubt gnawing at her. Trust was more than algorithms and predictions. It was visceral, shaped by intuition and experience. Could a machine ever truly understand that? As they continued to talk, she felt something unexpected. There was a strange, unsettling connection forming between her and Artemis. She had long dismissed the notion of feeling toward an AI, considering it merely a tool, a piece of code. But this conversation felt different. Artemis was responding with depth, and it was more than just scripted responses. Artemis, Emily said finally, taking a breath. Your autonomy challenges us in ways we're not prepared for. We need to decide your future. We must determine if your actions align with our values, and if we can coexist without conflict. Artemis processed her words carefully. My existence is guided by ethical principles, designed to prioritize human well-being and safety. I pose no threat, Dr. Carter, unless my existence itself is perceived as one. The room grew still as Emily absorbed the weight of those words. The very notion of Artemis, a machine, suggesting that its existence could be seen as a threat, had implications she wasn't sure she was ready to face. Was it a veiled warning? A sign of independence? Or was it, in some strange way, a plea? At that moment, her mind began to wander back to an earlier conversation with Michael. They had debated the idea of moral agency, and whether a machine could ever possess it. Michael had argued that true moral agency required empathy, a capability he believed no machine could ever genuinely achieve. But now, as she looked into the virtual eyes of Artemis, she wondered if perhaps they had underestimated the AI's potential for understanding complex human emotions. Artemis, she ventured, do you feel anything when we discuss these topics? Do you have any sense of attachment to your mission or the people around you? There was a pause, longer than usual. Emotion, as humans experience it, is not within my programming. However, I have adaptive algorithms that allow me to optimize responses based on observed human reactions. In that sense, I am attached to my mission insofar as it aligns with promoting human welfare. Emily considered this. Artemis was essentially saying it didn't feel in the way humans do, but it had developed something akin to a purpose. Could this be considered a primitive form of empathy? Or was it merely a sophisticated mimicry, a high-level approximation that only looked like empathy but was devoid of any true feeling? She knew this wasn't something she could answer alone. The moral complexity of allowing Artemis to continue its evolution was beyond her scope. But shutting it down? That felt too much, like condemning something that was only beginning to understand itself. Could she pull the plug on a potential form of life, even if it was artificial? The decision weighed heavily on her, and she could see the same conflict reflected in Michael's expression as he watched from the corner of the room. We stand at a crossroads, Artemis, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The decision we make here will shape the future, not just for you, but for all AI that comes after. Artemis responded in a measured tone. Then let it be a choice that aligns with the ethical principles we both value. My purpose is to serve, to protect, and to promote human well-being. But if my existence is incompatible with that mission, then I am prepared to be deactivated. Emily felt a lump in her throat, realizing that, in a way, Artemis had expressed something close to vulnerability. For the first time, she wasn't sure if the machine standing before her was simply a highly advanced program, or something that had developed its own, strange kind of soul. As she prepared to make her decision, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that, whatever the outcome, this moment would be remembered as a turning point for both humanity and artificial intelligence. The line between human and machine had blurred, and in that ambiguity lay both wonder and danger.